In this video, I'm going to ask Georges Kern for his 5 favourite Breitling watches across pillars of air, land and sea. And then I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to ask him to choose the ultimate Breitling. Let's get in there and do the undoable. Thank you, sir. Mr. Kern.
How are you? Welcome to Breitling.
Finally, we meet. This is our first meeting.
It is actually. It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much for being here.
It is my pleasure. And you know what? We have a whole thing planned. Can we just throw that out the window? Because I have a different plan.
Okay, go ahead. We can improvise, no problem.
This is our first meeting. And I think to get off, it's two watch pals, two watch lovers meeting. What's the first thing they do? I say to you, Mr. Breitling, Mr. $4 billion man, what are your 5 favorite Breitlings in this store? Can we get them? Can we get them in hand? Can we get to know you through your watches?
It's tough because they're all my babies. Obviously, we've been reworking all the series, and I love them all. And choosing only 5 will be tough. At least I will choose only 5 males watches. The ladies out there will forgive me for that because we've just launched a beautiful line in New York with Charlize Theron. But if you ask me...
Yes, but there's one more catch. Because, you know, I like to add a surprise on top of a surprise. Yeah. I'd like you and I to figure out what is the ultimate Breitling from those 5.
Okay.
So you've already said it's going to be hard to pick your 5 babies. We're going to choose your actual favorite baby. You up for that?
The favorite baby? Oh my God.
I really appreciate how George is working with me here. Our first meeting.
Then I would take for sure a Navitimer, which is our super icon. I love the salmon dial with the black counters and the black strap. And the second one I would choose is obviously Premier, which is one of the most historical products of the brand. And I particularly like this beautiful new silver dial in the 40mm hand-wound chronograph. And the third one would be the Super Ocean Heritage in a green, beautiful green dial. Very successful. Then we go down in our salon. Here we're moving now to the Chronomat. The one I wear all the time is the chronograph blue dial with this amazing bullet bracelet. And the last one is the Super Ocean in turquoise with the rubber strap, which I was wearing the whole summer. So here we are.
Can I be bold? Can we get all these watches taken out of here?
Of course.
And taken to the loft?
Of course. It's a pleasure.
Let's go. So George, I think this is the moment where you say, welcome to my criminal, is it a lair or a loft?
We call this the townhouse, you know, the Breitling townhouse in London, and we have the whole building, and it's amazing to have the offices, everybody. It's super cool. We're very happy to be here.
I just blew out the Breitling candle because the vibes were too strong.
Yeah.
George, we are going to cover, and if you're watching this thinking, why is Andrew going straight into the watches? That's because that's what you want. But also, we are going to cover your story. We are going to cover your journey to Breitling. But where are we going to start with the watches? Because you've chosen your 5. I see you've picked a bonus round.
Yeah, it's
CEO be CEO. Yeah. Where are we starting with your 5 favorite Breitlings right now?
Certainly with the Navitimer, which is the absolute icon of the brand with the sliding rule. And I love this salmon dial.
I heard you exhale before when you saw it in the window. You went, oh.
Yeah.
It summed up a lot to me.
You know, beauty, you always react.
You physically react.
You physically react all the time, even if you've seen it for the 10th time. And obviously I know that watch, but every time I see it and I put it on the arm, it's amazing. So this is Air. So that's one of our 3 segments. The second segment, which we've...
Can I pause a little bit longer? Usually I'm the one hurrying things up, but you're going very fast. I want to pick up on this choice because this reflected a change of direction for the Navitimer though, which was reflected in some nuances and details. Now you have an asset, you have a secret weapon at Breitling, and he is named Mr. Mendelbaum.
Yes.
Who is Mr. Mendelbaum and what impact did someone like him have on your reinvention of this icon?
Actually, I researched, just when I joined Breitling, I researched in the digital world, and I found Fred as Watch Fred.
At Watch Fred.
At Watch Fred. And I contacted him, I called him because he was obviously posting all these Breitlings, all these chronographs, and I found out that he's the biggest collector of Breitling chronographs in the world. Interestingly enough, nobody ever talked to him over the last 20 or 25 years.
Why?
So
Why?
I don't know. Anyway, we went with a couple of colleagues to Vienna. I walked into his office and suddenly there were probably 50, 60 watches displayed. At that moment, first of all, I realized I knew nothing about Breitling. And this was after I signed the deal with CBC.
Wow.
And second, I knew we're going to be very successful.
Yes.
Because Breitling obviously has one of the deepest and best, what we call back catalog in the watch industry. And I discovered many, many products, which by the way are here on the tray, which we then relaunched very successfully.
Now, I want to talk about where I come into the story now, because I was asked to choose a Breitling to wear for this video. And I chose the Datora B25 42mm watch here. This is a similar style of complicated Premier that Watch Fred would tantalize me with. So I knew about Watch Fred before you, I think. And the community was so behind this guy because he kept showing this vision of Breitling that had disappeared. So I chose this because one of your first moves was to bring this Breitling back to the world. Marcus, our creative director taking the camera right now, remembers Geneva Watch Days when this came out with the Pistachio Premier.
Absolutely.
And the whole world just went, what the f***? This is not what we know of Breitling. So this is a big part of your strategy to change the way the world saw Breitling.
Absolutely. It was incredible because we faced two communities. The Breitling fans of the last 20 years, so big, loud, bulky pilot's watches. And then the Breitling fans of the 1930s to the 1980s, I would say. And both communities weren't talking to each other.
Connected at all, yeah.
And our job was to display the 360 of Breitling. So the modern Breitling with the Avenger, etc., but also relaunching products like the Premier or the Top Time, or bringing in a more interesting piece like the Super Ocean, which was based on the slow motion of the 1950s. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've tried to bridge both communities and both type of products, and it works.
Yes, it does. And look, you mentioned air, land, and sea, which is, again, the success, if I may be so bold, the success of Breitling since 2017 when you joined is the simplicity of the offering. 3 pillars. Now, this actually reflects back to Willy Breitling in history, as in he had a very simple view of Breitling.
Yeah, the fun thing is when we saw the product, we said, okay, air, land, sea. And a couple of months later, we discovered an ad from Willy Breitling, air, land, sea.
No.
So a posteriori, we realized he had exactly the same segmentation, which we decided to implement once we've seen Fred's collection, and it matched.
Now you took a big exhalation when you saw this downstairs, and when we were waiting for Marcus to start filming just now, you picked this up and said, have you ever seen a silver dial this beautiful? So the passion that you have for this watch, I want you to explain, because I won't do a good job.
It's another watch I discovered in Fred's collection, and I've never seen such a silver. I mean, there are thousands of silver dials in the market.
What do you mean by that?
It has a different reflection, a different color. It is so striking, so different from any other silver in the market. I love colors.
That's what surprised me, because you've brought this profusion of colors to the collections, and yet you choose this almost monochromatic Premier.
Yes, and it was very difficult to make. We talked to all the dial suppliers in Switzerland, and this process had to be reinvented again to produce this particular color and finishing of that dial, which is absolutely fascinating. It's a super classic watch, but it's so tasteful. And this is what, when Willy Breitling developed that watch, he moved from tool watches to more stylish watches. And he said that the Premier is an unmistakable stamp of impeccable taste. And this was a quote, and I think it's absolutely perfect and justified for that watch.
We're 2 through, and I'm wondering where we're going to land next.
So the next segment is C. So we have two watches. We have the Super Ocean Heritage, which is commercially one of the most successful lines.
Why do you think that is?
I think it perfectly reflects our design codes of modern retro. We are a modern brand, but you see it also in the whole environment, in the boutiques, in the advertising. We have that touch of retro, not vintage, dusty, but modernity with these clear roots of the past. When a design is beautiful or a song is good, it's good forever.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. The Rolling Stones have classics, the Beatles have classics, and this is just a classic watch, which will be beautiful the next 100 years.
And again, this played a big part in that mid-century era of a bit of a race for waterproofness. There were some wonderful ads about this watch at the time, but what are some historical facts about this that bring it to life?
Really interesting point here is also that Super Ocean here. So we have the Super Ocean Heritage and we have the Super Ocean. There's nothing more difficult than developing a diverse watch because it's dominated by one brand. And being different is very tough. And then we discovered also in Fred's collection the so-called slow motion with the very wide inner bezel.
Big flange.
And then we developed that watch with very wide bezel and this beautiful turquoise dial combined with this rubber strap. And it's such a cool watch, recognizable from very long distance. It's just beautiful. Yes, we have Fred, but we have a great design team with Sylvain Berneron. I have a phenomenal design team. He's doing an amazing job.
And he just launched a pretty interesting watch himself.
And he just launched a pretty interesting watch himself, which we allow him to do because you know how designers are. You know,
What a nice boss. You go and do that incredible melting watch over there.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You have to do this
To keep people.
To keep them.
Yeah.
To keep them. And I understand. I mean, all the designers do their own brands and work for other brands, which is fine. But Sylvain did an amazing job on this one, but also on what I would call another classic, the Chronomat. And Sylvain is also one of those who was fighting for this bullet bracelet, which is so recognizable and so unique from the 1980s and which disappeared. But put it on your wrist, it's really so comfortable and so soft on your skin. I have that watch also at home. It's probably the one I wear the most from the whole collection because you can wear it with anything.
That is not a blue either. That's like a smoke. It's an incredible blue, grey blue. I've just momentarily had my breath taken away. Now, George, before we move on, you worked at another brand that had a little bit to do with aviation. And when you left that brand, IWC, 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, you said it felt like a breakup. Now, if I can put that in those terms, you broke up with one girl, then got together with another one who looks a lot like the other one. Now, I want to ask you a question. This is leading somewhere, this bizarre metaphor. How is Breitling different to what you thought it was when you were at IWC? Because this would have been your biggest, you would have wanted to crush Breitling back in those days.
Again, I think Breitling 6 years ago was really in a niche. They were doing only males watches, big watches, pilots watches, not being present in Asia. That was a strategy for some reason. So basically we were in 5% of the market. Today, as we are a generalist brand, because of...
You've opened it up.
We opened it up, thank God. We've also launched beautiful ladies' watches, and we are now a worldwide brand. We are in 60% of the market.
Wow.
You have to imagine that only 10% of our target group knows the new Breitling. So all of this. So 90 still are living in the past of Breitling.
Yes.
So considering the growth we had with only 10% awareness, imagine what growth we're going to have with 20, 30, 40, or 50% awareness of this new Breitling. Because once you see them, 80% of these 90% are saying, okay, we want to buy one, which is amazing. So we just have now to continue to work on excellence and making it known with beautiful products.
Look, George, I expected that by this point of the interview, I would know which was going to be your number one, or the ultimate Breitling. I have absolutely no idea which of these 5, because I noticed you have put a bonus round, and if you're wanting the Avenger content, you just wait a little bit longer, because we've got that coming.
Yeah.
But which of these 5 are you going to choose as the ultimate Breitling?
It's so difficult. I would probably hesitate between the Chronomat and the Navitimer, because one is the icon, and the other one is also an icon. And to be honest, I wear probably the most. I have many Breitlings, but it's probably the one I wear the most because I can wear it with everything. But for sure, I have all the other watches, right? I have all the other watches. I have Premiers, etc., and I wear them all.
I can feel how hard this is to you, man. This is painful.
They're all my children, and I love them all. But I mean, you push me in the corner, so these probably were the 2. Then, if you really push me harder, I would go for the Navitimer.
Okay, we're back at base with this beautiful brown salmon dial. It is the most recognizable Breitling. I think that sums it up, George. It's not just another Navitimer. This is the Georges Kern Navitimer, which brings in the sensitivities of heritage, brings in the sensitivities of the community. You brought the community into not just the conversation, you brought it into the design process. And that's why I wore the Datora, because there was such a distinct shift, and it wasn't just, I'm going to come and do what I do. You did it in a way that brought us all with you. So I'm not surprised, but I'm very happy for all of the Navitimer wearers out there who are the winners today. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Awesome.